Hello there, welcome back to the channel, and we today are remembering Ultraviolet from 1998. Don't be ashamed if you've never heard of it. What was Ultraviolet? Well, it starred this guy, for a start, which is kind of cool. Before he was famous, before Luther, before the MCU, before any of that. This guy. I love this guy. Anyway, Ultraviolet was a very short-lived sci-fi fantasy series, mostly fantasy, from 1998. It's only 6 episodes long, and it's about vampires living amongst us. I remember watching it when I was a teenager, and at the time, because I watched a lot of there were a lot of these shows. Back in the late 90s, you had so much sci-fi television. I mean, you got the obvious ones that everyone's heard of: Farscape, Sequest DSV. Of course, Star Trek was everywhere. It was the absolute giant of the late 90s. As well as a myriad of other shows like Raw in the fantasy genre, Hercules, Xena. Need I go on? Right? There's loads and loads and loads of it. Some that people have heard of, but today, Ultraviolet, you've probably never heard of it. If you have heard of it, shout out in the comment section down below. Let me know if you have actually seen it, especially if you've seen it. It, again, was a very short-lived show that obviously got cancelled after just 6 episodes. It didn't really take off, but came up with a lot of very cool concepts. The term for ultraviolet, for example, is obviously the UV light destroys vampires. So, ultraviolet, it's pretty simple. Not to be confused with the truly terrible Mila Jovovich movie called Ultraviolet. This was actually far better than that, in my opinion. But there we go. They had a lot of interesting sort of lore they created about the vampires in the show. Of course, UV light destroyed them. No reflection, which we see in Buffy. Again, another massive fantasy series at the time, which this came out about a year later. Connection? Maybe. Were they related? No. Was it inspired by? Probably. The phenomena of Buffy caused clones, like it always does. This is probably not a Buffy clone. That's probably wrong to say. But basically, they're trying to hunt them down. One of the other interesting features was, similar to mirrors, they say, oh, vampires can't talk down the phone because their voices won't be picked up by the mics, which is just weird. See, the Buffy thing I always bugged me about. Obviously, every now and again, you get errors in Buffy show, and you will see a vampire in reflection here and there. But you see them in a photograph. If you're not familiar with how a camera works, similar to the one I'm looking into now, they use mirrors. They use little mirrors to bounce the thing around into the, especially when it used to be film and imprint on it. That's how they work. So my theory is, in the Buffy universe, especially because the Buffy Vampire Slayer vampires can be taken a picture of, sorry to go on a slight tangent here, but I was thinking about this the other day while sat there watching an episode of it, an episode of Angel where he appeared in a photograph in an old hotel, and I was like, well, how would he appear? It's got to be mystical. The reason they don't have a reflection is clearly mystical, but actually they must have a reflection, we just can't see it. Vampires must be reflecting light on a different wavelength to us. What's being reflected back out of the mirror goes into the mirror, but what's reflected back out of it isn't something human eyes can perceive, but the mirror is still picking it up. But because there's something being projected, a film on a camera still imprints it. So a picture can be taken, but the human eye doesn't see it. But that does also mean when you're taking a picture of a vampire and you're looking through the lens, you wouldn't actually see the vampire. And someone who took that photo might have gone, huh. But anyway, Ultraviolet, back to off my tangent. There isn't really a lot to say about it. I just wanted to kind of cover it and say that I just wanted to say it existed. It starred Idris Elba. It was a thing that got cancelled, but I always felt the show had potential. I really liked the lore they were trying to build up about the vampires and about the reasons why. They took this much more scientific approach to vampires. Not necessarily, say, the underworld approach, where, yeah, people can be turned, but actually they're a race. Or same with Blade. I really like the Blade version of vampires. They may be one of my best depictions of a vampire because they actually reproduce. They have babies, and they're born vampires. Yes, they can turn humans. That's probably how they were originally created, but they can actually be born. And it's the same in Underworld. Vampires can be born. The Lycans can be born. But they can also turn people. I dislike the pure abject immortality in Underworld. I like the Blade approach, where again, they're just a species and they live longer. They're just a bit different to us, filled with additional organs, a bit like cancer, to quote Blade. Ultraviolet was taking a similar approach. They wanted this much more nuanced, scientific, logical approach to the vampire and trying to explain away, as well as introduce a few other random bits of lore. It was a fascinating concept that simply got axed before it really had a chance to take off. 6 episodes is all we got. If you remember it, again, let me know in the comment section down below. There's really not much else to say about it, so we're going to end this video as a little short snippet of a one. But if you remember it, tell me something you remember. Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? You said it was cancelled. Would you like to see a revival of something like this? Because I think we're due a new series about vampires. I keep seeing like attempts. I keep odd werewolf series, but you know, I'm a millennial. The 90s was my time. This was my series. Not as good as Buffy, but it was good. Just didn't really get a chance to get off the ground. With that said, we're at the end of this video. And thank you for watching if you made it all the way to the end. Bye-bye.